Okay, I think we can start because it's time. Anyway, I'm sure our other participants will join soon. And I would like to thank especially our guest, Adity Saxena. And I let the stage to Gianluca that is going to introduce the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesco. So welcome to this second afternoon session of the Storylines project learning activity. As you know, in the afternoon sessions, we decided to host leading experts in the field of storytelling to explore the many phases of the storytelling. On Monday, we investigated storytelling from organizational point of view, as you remember. Today, we are going to explore the non-European approach to storytelling. As you know well, especially after 2 full days of training activity, the creative process of storytelling to understand the culture, the identity and the values of the audience you want to target through stories is very important. But, and this is the point, audiences are not always the same. So for this reason, today we will see what happens outside of Europe in the Indian context, more specifically, with thanks to Adity Saxena. So thank you for accepting our invitation, Adity, and welcome. Let me say that it is a real pleasure to have Adity here with us in safe conditions, because as you told me just a couple of months ago when I contacted you first time to invite you this learning activity, you were experiencing at that time COVID-19, when the situation in India was, I could say, especially in the hospitals, very dramatic. So we are really happy to host you today and know that everything went well. And before introducing our speaker, let me add that Adity Saxena knows well Storylines project, because she is one of the 3 external experts we involved in the evaluation of the second intellectual output of the Storylines project, the skill set framework for corporate storytellers, in which I remember she underlined a series, she gave us a series of suggestions to improve, sorry, I hear noises. Okay. She gave us a series of suggestions to improve the quality of the document. Also, thanks her non-European point of view. And today we are exploring this aspect, especially, so what happens outside of the Europe. So it's time to present our speaker. Adity Saxena is an academician from India with 18 years of experience in teaching, research, communication design, and supporting students' well-being. Her research interest is education, storytelling, design thinking, and happiness. This is very interesting. Presently, she is leading the School of Art and Design of the Woxsen University, a young Indian university. She is a certified design thinker, a trained restorative justice facilitator, and involved in many global research and education projects. In addition, she's a passionate mentor, mother of a teenage girl, and loves to connect people with diversity. So the topic of this dialogue is storytelling in a non-European perspective. The organization will be the same of the previous dialogue. So we are going to start with a presentation by Adity for around 15-20 minutes, and then we are going to ask questions to our guest. So thank you very much, Adity, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gianluca, and I think thank you all of you to be here for my session. And it's true that the condition of COVID-19 in India is really critical, but yeah. So I'm happy that many of us are, able to manage that critical situation, and now we are able to continue our regular work. So I'm going to share my screen because I have prepared a PPT, and since I'm a communication designer, so I try to put a lot of pictures on the PPT. So I hope all of you will like, and feel free to ask me question after the presentation. Yeah, so yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
So,
Yes, thank you.
So when we say storytelling, I would like to start with a more generic idea of storytelling, and gradually would like to come to the Indian context. When we say storytelling, every picture can give us a cue of a story. Just imagine this is a library. This is a architectural building from India. This is a cityscape in the night. And the same library, but with a different time. So what I'm trying to say, that when time, lighting, people, emotion, your background, it change, it create a new story. So every situation can give us a new narrative indication. Now, I'm not going to read it, but what I'm trying to say, that I did a very interesting project in India, and I met 15 researchers, academicians, and storytellers, and asked them to define what they understand what is story. So this is some of the point which I have written here. A most important part of story is through stories, we convey culture to our next generation. We convey value, we convey ethics. A most interesting part of storytelling is it gives us a flexibility to visualize the thing. Let's say, I tell you, today morning, I met a beautiful girl with white dress. Her hair was open. If you're watching a film, the character is in front of you. But if you are listening or reading, you have that freedom to visualize the character and make your own story. So I think, that is the way we understand story. And one definition I would like to explain, the stories are not singular, it's plural. When we listen a story, you will find there are many plots, many themes, and many parallel stories within the one story. So what I can understand, apparently, story seems to be very simple, but it is a complex form of communication which we have to make it simple. This is a picture a cover page of an Indian book. If you see this picture, you can understand. This picture gives you that Indian stories are from mythology, that is history, gender, lot of gender aspect is there, culture, and also animals, fishes, and a lot of movement. So I'll share this book with all of you. It is written in English. So, but I thought this cover page seems to be very fascinating to me. The cover page actually give us an understanding that what is Indian storytelling is. Okay, this line is not, this slide is not so important anyway, but I'm not going to read also, but yes, I'm skipping this slide. Probably anyone can read later on. Yes. Now, when I see story in Indian context, please understand, we tell stories through music, through dance, through performance art, or through different forms of art, traditional art, popular art form in India to tell the story to our audience. When I say Indian storytelling, it's so vast, it's so wide that I cannot include everything in this PPT. But what I tried to do, I included the main options of storytelling or main aspects of storytelling, Indian storytelling in this PPT. So if you see the visual, this is a form of storytelling through dance and music. The name of the form is Pandavani. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Indian epic, Ramayana, Mahabharata. So Pandavani is basically from a famous epic called Mahabharata, where so there is a hero called Bhima, and it's more like a community, folk community singing through which people tell stories from, village to village. So this is a very interesting form. They talk about power. They talk about how a person, a personal relationship, conflict, all these things they talk about. So this is a one form of story that is known as Pandavani. This is another form of story. Now, if you see this PPT, this slide, you can understand it's bright, colorful. The name of the form of this storytelling is Yakshgana. Yakshgana. It's very tough to pronounce. Yakshgana is more like theater. It's more like drama of the god and goddesses. So basically, this form of storytelling allows the storyteller to convey the story of god and goddesses in a mythological and social context, right? So this is a one form. Now, I have created another slide for this particular form because I wanted to show that the costume play a very important role in this form of storytelling, Yakshgana. You can see that they use god and goddesses. If you see the picture of Indian god and goddesses, they are bright, colorful, they have loud actually. One interesting part of this storytelling is there is always a one person who is a narrator who can tell the story to the audience before actually the storytelling, this performance started. So this is a person who is a narrator and they are the performing artist. Okay, initially I have started with this idea. This is Nangiyar Kothu. This is another form of storytelling from southern part of India, South India. One interesting point of this storytelling is it is dominated by the female artist. You can see in the storytelling also the gender aspect is there. It is mainly dominated by the male artist. However, this form of storytelling is dominated by the female artist. I can say most of our stories are influenced by our mythology, our stories, our ethics, our values. Now, till now, whatever form I have shared with all of you, it's from the south part of the India. This is from Rajasthan. If you see, they use this instrument for storytelling. They create this instrument by using wood and colors. And there is a lot of doors, lot of openings. That means you can understand that it's a one story with multiple plots. So this is carved. The name of the story is carved. This is another interesting form. All of you know that our culture is quite different from the European or Western culture. Living relationship is now a trend in India, but it is not socially accepted. So we mostly believe in a marriage, settle down in family, staying with the parents. This community in India, from the ancient time, they see and they are looking for a spiritual search. And what is the spiritual search? Happiness. What we call it in happiness in Indian language is Ananda, A-N-A-N-D-A, Ananda. So male and females, they live together. They move from one village to another village. They use a particular instrument to play the music and they sing. So they are basically in a spiritual journey and love and relationship. This is another very interesting form of storytelling, that is Kathakali. Now, in this form, you cannot identify the storytellers, that means the performer. They use mask, and through mask, they communicate emotions, anger, happiness, and this is also a part of Hindu religious art. It is a classical dance form through which they communicate stories. Probably some of you know that there is an art known as kalamkari, which is now globally most of the fashion designers use this art form to do the textile designing. So this is basically make the drawing on fabrics and tell the story of Ramayana and Mahabharata, our main two epics, to the audience to convey the value and ethics in a social context. And this art form is not only used for storytelling, it is also adopted by the global market for fashion and textile designing. Okay. India is a country which was ruled by the Britishers 100 years. And that was the era when we introduced with globalization, English language, and technology. Because India is a country for Vedic culture, means more Ayurveda, more like natural things. But so Mughal, you can see the power transfer from Mughal to Britishers. So Mughal Empire followed a storytelling that is Dastan Goi. Dastan means story and Goi means telling. You are telling a story. So it is mostly dominated by the Muslim culture. You can see that Mughals once the Muslim era, not the Hinduism. And this is the way they tell the story of the popular form of story they communicate, and it is very old. From the 16th century, we follow this form. This is another form of story that is known as Harikatha. I just wanted to say, you see this instrument. Harikatha use this instrument particularly, which is known as mridanga. So this mridanga instrument is used by Harikatha storyteller to convey the story. I always say that stories build up on your tradition and culture. Every country, if you listen their story, you understand their culture. So I just wanted to introduce few of the culture, touching the feet of the elders, namaste, fasting. Now, this is a very interesting word, Atiti Devo Bhavo. My fourth point, Atiti means guest, Devo means God, Bhavo means you do the best for your guest. So when we use this concept, I don't know, I hope I'm not crossing my time. I wanted to share a story with all of you based on the fourth point, how Indian writers or storytellers use our culture and they write a very story of humor. I hope I'm not too fast. So there was a family, father, young couple, and 2 kids. One fine morning, someone knocked the door. The young man opened the door and he saw a middle-aged person with a bag standing outside the door. And he just entered the house without taking any consent. He entered. The young man asked, "Who are you?" He told, "I am your father's friend's brother. I am your father's friend's brother. I came to the city and I thought I can stay a few days with you guys. We believe in Atiti Devo Bhava." So the family say, "Okay, fine, please come stay with us." The person did not say how long he is going to stay over there. Surprisingly, it's been a month the person was there. Family got upset. They got frustrated. But since we are not like European or Western culture, we cannot ask people directly when you are going to leave the home. So I'm not going to tell the story completely, but then there is a humor that the family members try to make tricks to ensure that that person should leave the house. So what I'm trying to say, that why I'm saying that this culture and traditions was criticized by the storytellers. It is not that it is always followed by the storyteller. We use Vedic mantras and we use meditation, and our family system is still follow a joint family structure where all family members stays together. This is a picture of a grandmother and grandson, how they sit together. Now you can understand the hierarchy, and he is listening a story. I'm not going to read this slide, but this is some factual information I have entered to tell you, all of you, that India is a diverse country. We are a secular country. We welcome all the cultures, all the religions, but if you consider, we have so much of diversity, so much that our stories are also evolve around the diversity. When I say India is a diverse country, I can say it's our handicraft, our clothing, our literature, our cinema, art and architect. Every state have a different kind of art and architect, and that tell you a story. Our food or cuisines, custom and traditions. I don't know, but if you go to YouTube and search, every state in India have a different process of marriage. They follow certain cultures, certain rituals that also tell you a story, that how people connected with each other, a story of love, story of passion, family. I'm almost through with my concept. There was an article where BBC raised a question. Is Indian storytelling is a dying art? Yes. It's unfortunate that due to the globalization and due to the massive use of virtual media, social media, popular culture, our ancient story, the traditional storytelling culture is now in a crisis. Not only the culture, but the artist. They are really in a survival issue. They don't know how to survive. The last point, the contemporary Indian stories are almost like a global form, but the only difference is that it more emotion, and the music and the songs are playing a very important role in Indian storytelling culture. These are few references. You can go to the YouTube and check the storytelling form, some of the forms I mentioned. And these are some of the book, some of the research paper, which you can go through and you can further get to know more about Indian storytelling. Thank you, everyone. I think I am through with my presentation. If any of you have any question, please ask me.
Thank you very much, Adity, for this very interesting presentation. This cultural introduction to the storytelling culture in India and to the Indian context, that it sounds very exotic from a European point of view, at least for me. My first question is going into the subject of this learning activity, that is corporate storytelling. How this Indian tradition contaminate the corporate storytelling in Indian context, and what is the state of the art of the corporate storytelling in your country? Is it frequent that companies use narratives for spreading their messages or not? And there are differences between the Indian corporate storytelling from your point of view and European approach, or Western civilization approach, we could say. You are mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm just changing my earphone and
Yes, take your time.
Yeah. A very interesting question. I think many of the Indian companies are now using stories as a part of their corporate communication. Because when I define story, now I can say stories are fact plus emotion. Earlier, the corporates were normally using only facts, the numbers. And they understood that numbers never connect their customers or their audience. So if I say the global brands like Pantaloon, Hyundai, and lot of brands, and including the Indian brands like Big Bazaar, Unilever, Tata, they have been using storytelling for different way. Point number one, social media. They are using stories, their stories of their customer satisfaction story, customer experience story is every day on social media. The most interesting part is called Indian corporate storytelling is video. Videography, and especially the use of YouTube, is very high in Indian corporate storytelling. However, there is a very interesting thing we need to understand between Europe or Western and Indian context. When we make our stories, even in corporate stories, we give first priority to emotion, relationship, family, and then music, audio. Audio plays a very important role in Indian storytelling context. Very interestingly, I would like to tell you, many of the corporates calling the storytellers for their CSR activity, corporate social responsibility. Interestingly, this is one thing I would like to share with all of you, that in India also, the role of a storytellers, the significance of role of a storytellers are increasing day by day. Because the corporates at this moment, till now, they don't have a full-time corporate storytellers, but yes, they are inviting people to tell their story to their audience. One more thing, they are also involving their customers. The earlier storytelling was all glamorous people can come, a person who is good looking, presentable, articulated, can tell a story. But now they are inviting housewives. Now they are inviting retired people to tell their story, to share their experience about the product. So if you ask the traditional form of story, in the corporate storytelling, I can't see that traditional form, what I have explained today, but probably they are getting the key ingredients like emotion, ethics, value, relationship from the culture, and they incorporate in the corporate storytelling in more contemporary way. I can say the corporate storytelling is India is more like a popular culture.
Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. There is a question from Francesco. The film industry in India, what is called, I don't know if the word is correct, Bollywood, is very important, not only Bollywood, obviously. Does it help to preserve and disseminate these traditional forms of storytelling, or they use other forms for communicating?
Thank you. If I talk about Indian cinema, especially Bollywood, all of you know about Bollywood, but India have 23 regional languages and they all produce films. One of the most entertainment of Indian going to watch a film. So come to your question, when we say Bollywood, it observes a transition. Now, there are few, you can say genre or few of the category, like family drama, which is one of the most preferred story by the Indians, a conflict between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Now, then the new form of story, that is action films, that is borrowed from Hollywood. One hero can kill 10 persons and save his girlfriend. It is absolutely okay. There is 4 out of 4 tires in the car, only 2 are working, still the car is running. So what I'm trying to say, then we have docudrama. All these different forms of cinema or film, Bollywood film, have their own audience. My mother or probably my grandma prefer more like a family drama because they can connect. Because when we say story, I want to see one line. It is a shared way of communication. If I'm telling a story of my school days, I am sure all of you are not able to connect with that story because your schools are different from my schools, right? Now, let me come to the point of the question. As I told again and again that Indian stories take reference from our value, family system, ethics, our epics, especially 2, Ramayana and Mahabharata. If there is a 2 brother and they have good relation, we tell them Ram, a character from Ramayana. So Indian films, especially the Bollywood films, which is also known as Hindi film industry, is using the traditional form, but probably they are modifying it based on the requirement of the audience, because film need to have a commercial approach. They need to earn money, but the traditional storytellers are more passionate to tell story. Is that sound okay with you, all of you, or?
Yeah,
thank you.
There is another question. Thanks a lot for the very interesting presentation. I have a curiosity. From your external point of view, can you see a common way to do storytelling in Europe, or you see a fragmented way to do it depending by the different European countries, and a common European soul in general? From the point of view of an European, it is more difficult to see and a united soul.
I personally think, as for my study on European storytelling or the world storytelling, I think it's more fragmented. However, story connect people. We tell through the story, we tell the life of the people, how they survive, how they struggle, how they adjust, and how they succeed. So from this point, I can see that we can create a universal language of storytelling. However, considering the European context, and Europe is also a very diverse country, they have a lot of conflict, lot of political thing, lot of cultural thing. So I think it is some extent, definitely it is fragmented. And I would also like to see the similar concept is applicable in Indian context also. That means a story from South India and story from North India have a different form, different way of communicating. But at the end of the day, every storytellers are talking about people, politics, culture, history, tradition, relationship, love, passion. That's it. Food. I hope I'm able to justify your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please share questions if you have questions, or ask directly. I have another question. You mentioned, Adity, a subject that it was also a subject of discussion in this morning session, the corporate social responsibility. Is this subject important, relevant in nowadays Indian economy? And also, why do you think storytelling is applied more in this field in your country?
It's a very interesting question, actually. Now, I think corporate social responsibility, that is CSR activity, is not new in India. It's a long tradition. Now, nowadays, most of the corporates have a huge budget for CSR activity. This is the way, what I understand as an academician, it is also another way of branding, corporate branding, because through CSR, they are definitely helping the people, the society. However, there is ultimate target is branding. Now, why I'm telling you? Let's say I want to help a community. I can go, I can spend some time with them, I can observe their lifestyle, I can help them, I can support them, I can share my knowledge with them to improve their lifestyle. The moment I put it on the social media, these pictures, that means I'm doing my personal branding. So most of the corporates, what they are doing, they're definitely doing a good work. They are spending money and they are definitely doing a good work. But outcome of every corporate social responsibility event, they are making stories through videos, they are making stories through their social media, they are making reports, testimonials, stories of the people, how they feel after the event, and they are circulating. So I think let me conclude it. I think corporate social responsibility is now a global phenomenon. Every corporates from every country are using this, should I say opportunity? Using this opportunity to support the society and build up their own branding.
Okay. Regarding the forms that the corporate, but not corporate, mostly used for spreading stories. For example, in Europe, one of the most common corporate storytelling example are corporate museums, okay, or books in which a founder of a company told his personal story. More recently, podcasts are increasing as a way for telling stories for companies. In your country, what kind of narrative forms are common for spreading corporate stories?
So when we call narratology or narratives, in Indian context, I came across with few of the reports, but they are not so popular in terms of storytelling. Corporates are in India are mainly telling story through the YouTube, through the social media, and they are also calling a lot of social media influencers to tell the story. As far the podcast is considered, I'm just sharing a data with all of you. I'm not so good in data, but yes, as far I can remember, India is in third number after United States and China in producing podcasts. Someone can check from the Google, probably my number is slightly incorrect, but what I'm trying to say that the number of podcasts in India is increasing day by day. And when I'm saying podcast, many storytellers are now using podcast as a platform to communicate story. Corporates are also using, but it still needs some more time to reach to that popularity where corporate story, where podcast can be a significant medium for corporate storytelling. But India is definitely producing many podcasts, a large number of podcasts.
Okay. Are there questions from the audience?
Maybe just a clarification from what you said. It's my understanding that Indian storytelling is powered mostly by symbols, huge narration like mythology, something like that, shapes. While my feeling is that European storytelling is mostly driven by people, in particular by individual. And maybe Indian storytelling is more driven by groups of people, maybe. Is there really that difference? Do you notice the difference?
Thank you for your question. The whole idea of Indian storytelling, you are absolutely correct, is derived from our mythology, our ethics, our value. But when we say mythology, the story of power, the story of people, family, ultimately it's people. Ultimately, it's the story of a person, a story of a group of people. If you talk about, consider the traditional form of story, especially through the performance art, they are actually a community-based activity. That means they go to a particular community, people move from one village to another village to tell the story. I think what I understand in between India and Europe, Indian traditional storytellings are more based on the village, not the urban context. Indian urban storytelling are more like a global phenomenon. I don't find any difference between a storyteller from USA or Europe or India in the recent generation. But the traditional forms of European storytelling and Indian storytelling are different. I'm sorry, I'm sharing one of my personal thing. Nowadays, I'm listening a lot of European podcasts, and I think I'm listening a podcast is Noble Blood. It's excellent. So what I wanted to tell you, what I understand, Europe is more like era, king, their era, then move to the another era. So this might be a thing, but definitely, I'm not an expert in European context. There are a lot of you probably give me the idea. So there are some similarities, some differences are there. Does that sound okay with you?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, other questions from the audience?
But I have curiosity more. It's a question, but it's also a curiosity. So since Indian culture in general, and also the storytelling, it's full of symbolism. It's really, I know that it's full of that. And I think that in our culture, so in the West part of the world, we lose a lot of it. Could you suggest us a way to recover it? Or, I don't know, there is a way, in your opinion, to regain this type of loose memories or not? Or since we are all in a global world nowadays, we have to accept the fact that nowadays the symbolism and the power of emotion is something that we can lose forever?
Thank you. It's a very interesting question, actually. Okay. Okay, I don't have an answer of 1 + 1 = 2, but probably I can share my understanding. When we say symbolism, I personally think, based on my travel in different parts of the world, I personally feel that symbolism is there in Europe as well as in Western countries, especially when we visit to the museum. I think we find a lot of symbolism is there. But probably there is a gap in between the symbolism which is in the archival stage of Europe or America. And that symbolism we are not able to use in our storytelling. However, you are absolutely right that now we are in a global village. I told all of you that when we think about Indian culture, Indian tradition, we don't appreciate people staying together without getting married, but nowadays it's a very simple phenomena in India also. And parents are also, gradually ready to accept the fact. And what is the impact? It is impact of the global stories to the Indian young generation, that they think that they are also part of the global community. But I absolutely agree with you that symbolism help us to visualize the thing. So I think probably I can't recall the name, but probably I can share with Gianluca later on. I met 1 or 2 storytellers during my visit to United States, where they are doing a lot of experiment. They are painters, they are storytellers, they are mostly the visual artists, and they are using experiment with the symbolism and storytelling. So it might be possible that I hardly got an opportunity to explore Europe. So might be possible that there are some artists, those who are doing it, but it is definitely very important. I don't have any answer to tell you that how to do it, but probably I can go through the research and share some research conclusion with you that what others are suggesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as we asked to other speakers, could you suggest to our audience a couple of books that you think are in some way important for increasing storytelling skill, for better understand what storytelling is from your perspective, so also from Indian point of view, not necessarily from a European point of view?
Okay. Before that, if we can spare 2 more minutes before I come, I am sharing a link in the chat box, and I would request Gianluca, it's a small video, if you can play that video. Is it possible? You can share your screen and play the video.
You can share directly from your computer, clicking on the green button.
I know, but I don't know whether I'm able to share the sound also. Okay, let me do it. Just a minute, let me play. Okay. I'm just trying to do it.
Yeah.
Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. Please let me know whether the sound, audio is also.
No, the sound.
No.
No.
I really don't know how to share the sound also. Anyone can guide me?
Yes, if you share the link in the chat, I'm going to share it from my account.
Thank you. Because I want, there are only two 1 minute video. I want everyone should see it. It's very interesting. Yes.
Can you see the sound?
Yes, okay. Thank you.
जिंदगी एक रेस है, कुछ देर के लिए थम जाओ। बेहतरीन चाय का एक प्याला खुद को पिलाओ। पहली चुस्की हवा को धुन में बदल देती है, दूसरी चुस्की कुदरत में छिपे राग सुना देती है। बारिश की बूंदों में नए सांस सुनो। आखिरी चुस्की से पहले कुछ वक्त मिले तो अपने दिल की आवाज सुनो।
दिन की एक कप चाय खुद के साथ हो जाए, वाह ताज।
Thank you for sharing the screen for a time.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a very interesting ad of a tea ad actually. And if you see this ad, it's basically the music, feminism, nature, because the feminism depict nature. In India, we think like this way, that this is like a nature. And the whole environment they're connecting. So it's a very interesting storytelling, way of storytelling, what Indian advertisers or filmmakers are nowadays using. Gianluca, I would request you to play the second one because it has a very interesting political aspect.
Okay.
रिश्ते हैं कुछ नए नए, धागे हैं ये कच्चे पक्के, अपनेपन से इन्हें सहलाएंगे, प्यार पिरोते जाएंगे। एक से दूजा सिरा जोड़ लेंगे, एक बंधन बुनते जाएंगे।
माँ, ये रस्म तो आपके घर पे होती भी नहीं है ना?
पर बिटिया को खुश रखने की रस्म तो हर घर में होती है ना। एक जो हुए हम तो क्या ना कर जाएंगे। एकत्वम बाय तनिष्क।
You can stop it. You can stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay. This ad was made by one of the top Indian jewelry brand, Tanishq, and was removed from the market within few hours due to a huge political consequences. And the company faced a huge loss because their share goes down almost 50% after this ad. Now, what is this ad all about? It's a marriage between a Hindu girl and a Muslim boy. In a Hindu family, when we conceive and when we reach to the 8th month, we follow a rituals that is known as God Bharai. So the Muslim family, just to make their daughter-in-law please, they introduce that ritual to their culture. So what I'm trying to say, that these stories, these contemporary acts are actually depicting our cultural conflict, political conflict, and lot many things. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, please.
Thank you, everyone, for listening such a long time. Let me back to the point, the books. There are certain books which I have already mentioned. And when I say learning storytelling, mention at the end of the PPT. And when I say learning storytelling, I always see that you can read few of the books, and some of the very interesting book was not written by the Indian authors. It is written by the global authors. But at the same time, you should read more articles. We must read more articles. We must go through a lot of TEDx talk of technique of storytelling, and that gives us a better understanding. But just 1 minute, just give you 1 minute, I can put the link in the chat box, some of 1 or 2 books which I would like to suggest.
Yes, thank you.
That is okay. Just 1 second. Is it possible that I can share later on also, or? Okay, I got it. This is a book which I also have, and I find this book is very interesting. Yeah, I'm just copying it from the website, so you can. I personally recommend this book because I read this book and I found it very interesting.
Long story short, the only storytelling guide you ever need.
Right, I can check it out from Amazon also.
By Margot Leitman. we collected a lot of interesting book suggestions in these days.
Right. And at the end of the PPT, I have mentioned few of the 2 books, which is written by the Indian authors in the reference section. So you can also check. And I'm sorry because the busy today, so probably I can go through my library and find out few of the books, and I can share with you.
Okay, I take this opportunity to remember that your slides and also the other presentation will be available on the platform. So if you want to have time to better see the reading suggestions. So if there aren't other questions or comments from the audience, I'm going to close this second afternoon session. And thank you very much, Adity, for this very interesting introduction to the Indian culture and the culture of storytelling in your country. Thank you very much. I think the audience really appreciated your presentation. And let's keep in contact, okay?
Thank you, and thank you to all my participants. It's a pleasure to see some of you. It's a pleasure to read some of your names, and I hope that I'll get more opportunity to meet some of you in person. Who knows? Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you to all. We will see for the last session of the Storylines learning activity on Friday morning at 10. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Aditya.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.